Call the meeting to order. Call the roll.
Trustee Healy. Here. Trustee Katsinas.
Here.
Trustee Milani.
Here.
Trustee Compass.
Here.
Trustee Reardon.
Here.
Trustee Rashevsky.
Here.
Mayor Pico.
Here.
Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Hold on. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Approval of the March 21, 2022 Committee of the Whole minutes.
I'll entertain a motion to approve the March 21, 2022 Committee of the Whole minutes. So moved.
Second.
Call the roll.
Trustee Milani.
Aye.
Trustee Katsinas.
Aye.
Trustee Healy.
Aye.
Trustee Compass.
Aye.
Trustee Reardon.
Aye.
Trustee Rashevsky.
Aye.
Mayor Pico.
Aye.
All hazards public alerting outdoor warning siren system purchase.
Mr. Chairman,
Trustee Compass.
I move to recommend the purchase of the All Hazards Public Alerting Outdoor Warning Siren System as proposed by Federal Signal in the amount of $379,874.65 with a 10% contingency for unforeseen circumstances.
Second. Are there any comments, questions? Call the roll.
Trustee Compass.
Aye.
Trustee Rashevsky.
Aye.
Trustee Healy.
Aye.
Trustee Katsinas.
Aye.
Trustee Milani.
Aye.
Trustee Reardon.
Aye.
Mayor Pico.
Aye.
Ordinance revising Title III, Chapter 2, Streets and Public Ways addressing.
Mr. Chairman,
Trustee Katsinas.
I move to adopt an ordinance entitled An Ordinance Amending Title III, Public Ways and Properties, Chapter 2, Streets and Public Ways of the Orland Park Village Code.
Second.
Are there any comments? So I do have a comment. This seems kind of, sometimes you look at these kind of things and you're like, really? We're passing things like this? Well, here's why it's important. Because I can tell you I had a property on Route 6 and it was 13148 West Route 6 when I bought it. It was 13148 West Route 6 when I built on it 6 years later. And then suddenly I had Will County calling me and screaming at me that I changed my address from what was on the deed. Next thing I know, I was 13204 West Route 6, which should have been on the other side of Parker. And I was between 13138 and 13156, so no one could ever find my place again. Then, not about 2 years ago, they changed it back, and now it's 13148 West Maple, and instead of being Mokina, or excuse me, instead of being New Lenox, now it's Mokina. So it's pretty important that we actually have a good numbering system so that people can actually find their way around, and most importantly, our first responders can find their way around, because no one could find the building that I had. So, so it seems silly, but
Trustee Katsinas.
Aye.
Trustee Milani.
Aye.
Trustee Healy.
Aye.
Trustee Compass.
Aye.
Trustee Reardon.
Aye.
Trustee Rashevsky.
Aye.
Mayor Pico.
Aye.
ITB number 22-009, Athletic Surface Repairs 2022.
Mr. Chairman,
Trustee Reardon.
I move to recommend to the Village Board to approve awarding athletic court repairs to Evans and Son Blacktop in the amount of $314,285 plus a 10% contingency of $31,428.50 for a total not to exceed $345,713.50 for specified court repairs and construction work at Spring Creek Park, Sunny Pine Park, Breckenridge Park, and Treetop Park, and to authorize the village manager to execute all related contracts subject to attorney review, and to authorize the village manager to approve change orders not to exceed the contingency amount.
Second.
Mr. Chairman,
Trustee Compass.
so I have no issues with the work itself.
Can we get the presentation first?
Oh, sure, yeah, go ahead.
Okay, great.
Good evening. So in 2019, there was a parks assessment done of all the village parks, and in that assessment, the parks were graded, as you can see there, from 0 to 2.50. That grade would be indicate that there was a need for an upgrade in the park. 2.51 to 2.91 indicated there were concerns in the park that needed to be addressed, and 3 to 5 indicates that there are needs for some attention to the park in a future renovation. Breckenridge was built in 2002 and scored a 2.88. Spring Creek was last renovated in 1999 and scored 2.33. There are no park amenities in Spring Creek right now because of a stormwater project we did there in 2021. Sunny Pine was built in 2012, scored 2.99, and Treetop was built in 1998 and scored 2.55. Over at Breckenridge, we had proposed renovating the bocce ball courts. After doing a survey in a neighborhood meeting, the general consensus was to remove the bocce ball courts. They were underutilized, and the neighborhood that lives there really wasn't in favor of those. At Spring Creek, we proposed adding tennis courts and a half basketball court. Over at Sunny Pine, a half basketball court. There's a half basketball court there right now. You can see in the lower right that's in really bad condition. And then at Treetop, installing a new tennis court, fenced tennis courts with pickleball striping, half basketball court, and removing the inline rink there. So over at Treetop, that park is a fully asphalt park. It's in really bad shape with all the sleeves for tennis and basketball are all heaving. That is a future park project that I think Public Works also in 2023 is planning to replace the pavilion and the playground. The cost of all those you can see there at the 314 with the 10% contingency. We do have $500,000 budgeted for these kinds of improvements in 2022. In January, we held that neighborhood meeting that I had mentioned. Only 5 people attended. That was all those people that attended were from Breckenridge, and those are the ones that expressed an interest in removing the bocce ball courts. Because of the low attendance, we sent out a survey, so you can see the results of that survey. 85% of respondents indicated removal of the bocce ball courts was desirable. At Spring Creek, 60% of respondents were in favor of the tennis courts and the half basketball courts, and 100% of the respondents at Sunny Pine were in favor of a renovation of the basketball court. Treetop, we also held a neighborhood meeting. Nobody showed up to that. We mailed over 300 postcards on a survey and only received 5 responses. Out of that, 3 agreed with repairing the tennis courts, 2 agreed with the basketball courts. We brought all this to Rec Advisory, and they unanimously agreed to these improvements. The board item mentioned the award to Evans and Sons. The invitation to bid was matched to 142 vendors, was downloaded by 12, or partially downloaded by 12, completely downloaded by 5 vendors, and we received just the 1 proposal from Evans and Sons. Evans and Sons would be working with U.S. Tennis. Previously, when we had done court renovations, U.S. Tennis had done those renovations for us. So again, you can see the budgeted items there for this item. We are budgeted for these types of improvements. And I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Trustee Compass.
Sorry, Ray, I didn't mean to jump you on that.
That's okay.
So again, I have no issues on the work itself, but I had the same reaction as the residents about whether or not the bocce court was being used, so no concerns about replacing that with something with higher utilization. I was curious though, and George, this might be just a question in general, if we had any feedback on why we only had 1 bid submission, right? So we were matched 142 vendors, 5 downloaded, ultimately 1 submitted. I know it's not the first time we've seen something like this occur, but I'm almost wondering if there's a way that we should be looking at this, and maybe from a marketing perspective. Is there any way that we could be changing how we're posting these bids to get more attention?
So I'll jump on this real quick because I've been here for 5 years. We have never had more than 1 bidder, I don't believe, for our tennis court repairs because they're the guys that are just really good at it and no one can compete with them.
Normally, U.S. Tennis is the only one to bid, and they usually use Evans and Sons for the blacktop work. This was just reversed in this time.
Okay, fair enough.
And with every bid, we do, we publish it. It does get into a paper, and it gets picked up by these services that contractors can subscribe to, and we also put it on our social media site as well.
Mr. Chairman.
Trustee Reardon.
I have just a question about the scores look like we're getting pretty close to the minor. I mean, these are higher in the 2 levels. I see that. which is fine. That means I hope we're doing well. We took care of the ones that are worse. But $500,000 state budget, is that for all repairs for all parks, or were these designated ahead of time going into the budgeting process, and this is all we're using?
This is for just the athletic surfaces in the park. So Public Works has funds that are budgeted for actual park improvements, so playgrounds and pavilions, those types of things. So we use these for athletic surfaces.
Gotcha.
These funds.
Mr. Chairman.
Trustee Healy.
Ray, it seems like there's zero participation, but I mean, zero feedback from from everybody that lives around these parks. Is that unusual? Or, I mean, do other villages have such a lackluster response?
I would say that when it comes to the athletic surfaces, we feel like we're getting much more passive response. Joel can probably attest to when it comes to playgrounds, it's a little more robust of a response.
Thanks.
Any other comments? So first out, I have a few comments. So one is, so we used to spend about $750,000 or so on our internal park repairs, and that would include one park completely redone, which would be $250 to $350, and then the repairs on the other. So you can see it didn't stretch very far. Now we're doing the repair. Now we have double that, and we're repairing a bunch of parks, and we're repairing the things that are actually in poor condition. Because for 20 years, these parks were built. We had a big rash of parks built in the mid-90s to early 2000s, and there was never a plan for how, the board never planned for all of these repairs. We were fixing one every 2 years. We got 65 parks. That's 130 years, folks. That doesn't really work. Tried to get that changed, couldn't get it changed my first 2 years. Thank you to Cindy, Mike, and Bill. Their first meeting, we actually doubled our spending on our parks. We also implemented this plan where we did this review so that we were able to identify the specific features of these different parks that needed repair. And I think, correct me if I'm wrong, the last 3 years we've done almost 20 parks we've renovated, right, in the last 3 years, thereabouts. And we're over 20 basketball courts being resurfaced, instead of getting into one park every 2 years. So not only did we increase the funding for it, but and you can see how much we've caught up in just 3 or 4 years. So it just takes a different approach, different thought process, and we can actually get these things done. So, and we're going to do this, and we'll do it again in 2023. We'll have next year we're going to have another assessment done, and then we'll have another 5-year plan, and so it allows us to stay up on a much better approach than letting things get so run down like we did. Additionally, it's allowing, as you've noticed in our big community parks, we call them, we're spending a lot of money. We're going to talk about that today. We're spending a lot to revamp those parks. So that was also on hold until John Humphrey Complex. That was on hold from the last board, and the very first board meeting, these guys did that as well. So thank you to you guys for allowing us to get this and for making us all this progress, and thanks to staff for all the hard work you've done to get it this far along. It's really good for the community. Call the roll.
Trustee Reardon.
Aye.
Trustee Healy.
Aye.
Trustee Katsinas.
Aye.
Trustee Milani.
Aye.
Trustee Compass.
Aye.
Trustee Rashevsky.
Aye.
Mayor Pika.
Aye.
RFP 22-016, meter replacement program evaluation bid.
Mr. Chairman,
Trustee Milani.
move to recommend to the village board to approve awarding RFP 22-016 meter replacement consultant to Baxter and Woodman Incorporated of Crystal Lake, Illinois, in a not-to-exceed amount of $130,930, and recommend authorizing the village manager to execute all related contracts subject to village attorney review.
Second.
Any comments?
Mr. Chairman.
Trustee Compass.
So,
I guess he's got a presentation.
You
so
did
we'll
it to
let
me
you give
again.
you the presentation. I did it this time.
It's a short one, but I think it's a
Ones we like.
Yeah, I'll do this as quickly as possible, and you can get through the comments. So this is one slide to show about 25 years of history. So a quick summary is, you can see the blue, we had about a 10-year cycle where we were replacing meters every year. During that time frame on the top, you can see that we were always evaluating our meters, whether we should stay with the meters we had or go with something better. And in 2014, right about 2014, we actually changed to an iPearl census meter. In the bottom, you can see technology has changed. It used to be people walking around, actually reading them, Then we went to handhelds. Then we went to vehicle driving around with vehicles, picking up the readings that way. And then in 2012, we actually put transmitters on the homes, which by 2014, we actually were reading them from our water towers. And so technology came along a long way with this process. As you can see, as we're putting some of the iPearls in, the orange, we started to see a climb in meters, the meter readings going bad. We started a testing program then in 2018. You can see that in that bar. And it identified that some of our meters are slowing down. This is a benefit to always the resident. It's never to the benefit of the village. And so we started a implementation of let's start installing and replacing our meters. So in 2020 was when that program kicked off. Unfortunately, with COVID, we couldn't get into some of the homes, COVID impacts. We didn't do as many as we were hoping for, but we got a good jump on it. In 2021, we kind of stopped at the program because we were looking at how are we going to incorporate this into the Tyler system. So we kind of paused there, and we put this RFP together and put it on the street last year. So last year, we were looking at different strategies, phase in over what we just saw with a graph, or we're looking at one time, and that was the new plan that we were looking at doing. This was back in July, same kind of information, so I don't want to stay it too long. So by choosing the one time, the biggest thing is associated to the Tyler system. We need to get all the data to be aligned, so when we move and transfer the data from Enterprise to Tyler, it's all the same data. With the meter readings, we need them on 7 digits versus 4. We'll just leave it at that. But also, we have a chance to actually provide monthly billing. Once we transfer this over, we also can look at a web-based portal if that's something that the residents would like to use. Those are available for us to use with the upcoming switch over with Tyler. And the last thing we saw is, as you saw when I was talking about the readings, how they're slowing down, if we let that go for a 10-year process, the ones at the 8-10-year, it take longer to get that recovery back, right? So we want to go ahead and try to get those meters done all in one time so we can recover some losses that the revenue is not coming in. So what we did was in July, we had 3 smashed together in one RFP. We realized that we had mixed results with vendors wanting to bid on that. So we broke that apart. We did a rate study that Kevin put out. And then this is actually for the consultant for the water meter replacement evaluation. The scope of work was laid out in those 4 categories. Evaluation, help us with procurement, help us with the installation procurement, and then also the actual assistance during that program. So the bid results came in of 3 vendors, and Finance and Public Works sat and looked at their bid package, but also presentations that were completed. We looked at the committee reviewed those categories to select the right one, and Baxter Woodman is what we thought was technically acceptable and also best price. So we would request to move.
Can you go back to the slide with the dates, just for when I have my comments? The dates in the graph, that one, perfect. Trustee Compass.
I don't have any particular questions on this slide, but...
but I have comments about this slide, so I'm just setting it up for...
All right. So given that on this one, the second lowest bid was about 3 times the amount of the lowest, I just want to ask, are we certain that there isn't any latent scope or value consideration that could be accounted for in this difference? I just want to make sure that, we have clear requirements here. I don't think that that's going to change a whole lot. So I just, we know how many meters are involved. I just want to make sure that we're not missing something in the scope of the proposals that we might miss or have to address later on.
Yes, when we did the interviews, we raised those concerns and just make sure that they didn't forget anything. They were confident with their price, that they could meet our scope of work.
Okay. And this is fixed all in?
Yes.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman.
Trustee Healy.
I have two questions. One is, what's the expected life of these new meters?
20 years.
20 years, so we're going to have to redo this whole thing in 20 years.
20 years.
So there'll be a spending
Yes.
surge there. And the technology that you described and all that seems wonderful, seems to cover everything. Is this cutting edge, or is this old?
is.
It is cutting edge, but I mean, has it been tested? Are we a guinea pig for this?
No.
or-
Been using it
the-
since 2014.
Yeah, so the FlexNet is top of the line, and it's a great AMI system that we're talking with the interviews process, talking with those vendors. They complimented that the village is in the right step with the AMI, and our meters are, there's three main ones, Badger, Neptune, and Census. And we have one of the top line iPearl meters as well.
Okay, so the technology and all that has been tried, it's been true, and it's always changing. But you feel good that it's going to service us for, I mean, the implementation should go well.
Correct.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Okay, so you kind of look at this trend line and you kind of get some picture of maybe the village as a whole, what we've seen with vehicles and parks and roads and all this other stuff. So the board made a good decision to switch to these meters that did a good job, and then the technology started to change. And then you see we get into that 2009, 10, 11, 12, which is when these meters should be kind of hitting the end of their lifespan. We start to replace them, but not at a very quick pace. Right? And the problem here is so the board did a good job of the previous board of getting that new meter and then even picking the iCensus meters, but we didn't give ourselves the back support technology we needed to take advantage of those meters, right? But and so we're going to have that now. So when I arrived here in 2017, we had no technology. We basically started to push technology as much as they could do each year to catch us up, so that we could be in the position to do this. But you also see that big lull in the middle. Not only didn't get the technology that we needed when we put the new things in, but all that time frame, that 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, that was when 9750 was going on, and we were sucking ourselves dry of all that money. And so that's roads, parks, that's this. So that's it, and then frankly, this board has had other priorities. I know we've had other priorities of public works, and we've had other priorities with our roads and parks. And so now this is kind of the natural evolution to get here. Wish we could have got here a little bit sooner, but our technology really hasn't been there either, because we had so much technology backbone infrastructure we've had to put in. Now we're there, so now we can make this big investment. I like the idea of getting it all done at once and then getting a payback on it. And then 20 years from now, the board can kind of plan for it. They know it's coming, so they can plan for that big spend that they're going to have. So I think that's good to finally start to have those kinds of plans instead of kind of the ad hoc stuff. So very nicely done, and I appreciate all the hard work. Call the roll.
Trustee Milani?
Aye.
Trustee Compass?
Aye.
Trustee Healy?
Aye.
Trustee Katsinas?
Aye.
Trustee Reardon?
Aye.
Trustee Radiszewski?
Aye.
Mayor Peacock?
Aye.
Invitation to bid 22-028, Silver Lake West Phase 2 and El Camino Real water main replacement and stormwater upgrades bid.
Mr. Chairman,
Trustee Milani.
move to recommend to the village board to approve awarding ITB 22-028 Silver Lake West Phase 2 and El Camino Real water main replacement and stormwater upgrades to Austin Tyler Construction of Elwood, Illinois in bid amount of $5,946,253.02 plus a 3% contingency of $178,387.59 for a total not to exceed amount of $6,124,640.61, and move to recommend authorizing the village manager to execute all related contracts subject to village attorney review.
Second.
Any comments? So I do have one question. I know that on the street resurfacing, we had some warranty issues with Austin Tyler.
Yes.
And we've talked about that, and there's some concerns that we may, we're considering others, even if they're slightly lower bidder. In this case, it's less than 10%. Do we have those similar concerns with this project?
No. Austin Tyler's initial startup of their company was actually Utility Works, and we just believe they're not applying the resources and the quality control in the road program versus what they're doing with their bread and butter, as I call it, work in the past. So they did very well in Silver Lake West Phase 1, and they've done other work here for the village with utility work, and we hadn't had those quality controls that we had with the road program.
Okay, great. Call the roll.
Trustee Malani?
Aye.
Trustee Radiszewski?
Aye.
Trustee Healy?
Aye.
Trustee Katsinas?
Aye.
Trustee Compass?
Aye.
Trustee Reardon?
Aye.
Mayor Peacock?
Aye.
An ordinance amending the Land Redevelopment Code to Section 5-112 to reduce letter of credit requirements.
Mr. Chairman,
Trustee Compass.
I move to recommend to the village board to adopt an ordinance entitled, an ordinance amending the land development code of the Village of Orland Park as amended, Article 5, Section 5-112.
Second.
Any questions or comments?
Mr. Chairman?
Trustee Compass.
So while reviewing the proposed ordinance and the related briefing, a question that came to my mind is essentially, what is the challenge or opportunity that we're addressing with this change? I may very well be picking nits here, and I understand that, but I'm professionally wired to ask why, and I could not answer that here precisely, all right? So please bear with me. The briefing notes that the other suburbs operate with a 125% requirement in these letters instead of our 132%. It's fine, but that information by itself is incomplete and not compelling. I would much rather Orland Park be lonely and correct than mistaken with a crowd. So I went to the audio minutes for the Plan Commission, as I know we have some very smart folks there, and I heard one commissioner express a similar question. In summary, what I gleaned was that the commission felt that this does not introduce a significant risk, but I still did not hear clear value that this would bring to the village other than a vague concept that it would even the playing field with other municipalities. However, I also heard that in the past few years, letters of credit were called for 2 subdivisions in the southwest of our village, specifically Vintage Crossings and Old Mill. So I'm guessing that in those cases, the 7% provided relief to the overflow cost of the village. So one argument that was presented in the Plan Commission was that smaller developers have complained, but I didn't necessarily hear how many or what percentage they represented. And if that percentage was small, I'd almost like to propose an exception process rather than a blanket decision that changes this for developers that have not had issues in the past providing the village this additional security. So right now, I'm not inclined to make a change without more information on the catalyst for this proposal, so can you just give me a little bit more insight as to how this started?
I'm the one person sitting here that probably has the background on this one too, because I don't see Ed Lilo. Oh, there you are. So you can correct me if I'm wrong on this. So the reason we raised this amount to 132 was because of those couple of locations. And those couple of locations got into that position because if you think about it, it was a little bit of a timing related issue. And so it was kind of a well-intentioned idea to give the village that cushion. But it's turning out that it's making it hard to compete because what's happening with projects is very hard for them to get a letter of credit from the bank, and that extra 7% means they can't get the letter of credit that they need to start the projects, and we know we need stock. I know I see Trustee Katsinas shaking her head on that because we have so many, I mean, basically we have no stock in town. So it's to really help these residential projects, and ultimately we have to compete. So if we're more expensive to build in than other towns, we can't build. So I would say it was a well-intentioned good idea to raise it to 132 when we did. About 3 years ago, so maybe 4 years ago now that we did that, right, Ed? Yeah. About 4 years ago. So it's a well-intentioned good idea, but we're finding that it's causing some issues getting that last amount of money. So Ed, if you could.
Yeah, I would say that's pretty accurate, and I would say in general terms for any developer, the larger amount of money that they have to, put in that letter of credit to secure the development, it does make it more costly for them, takes more time, and a lot of times doesn't get approved. When we run into that and we're outside of the norm, we have to look at it and see, well, what's the issue? We need to protect the village's interest in the public infrastructure and get the project to a point where it can stop. And as long as we can do that under the current percentage or the previous percentage in this instance, then I think that's why we saw a change and a change back.
And I think the other thing you're seeing is one of the reasons that it's difficult to get these letters of credit now too is that interest rates are going up, so it's getting very costly for builders to make those numbers pencil. And you throw in the fact as well that they have building costs are going way up as well. So I think all that combined, this provides a little bit of relief for that because this is a cost for them, and this saves a bit of money. So that's why we're doing it. So again, I think it was a well-intentioned good idea that really hasn't worked the way we wanted. It hasn't done anything for us, and it's actually hindering some projects.
Right, so we just have to be very accurate when we make our estimates so that we protect, like I said, the public needs should a development not be able to finish on its own.
And just to maybe clarify, the cushion exists. That 25% is the cushion. What we had tacked on previously was an administrative charge. Basically, if we have to go, like it was prior to the Great Recession, where a developer went under, and then the village had to step in and manage the project. That's what that was for. What are the odds of something like that happening again? I mean, they're slim. But the fact that we now have the letter of credit to do the project just means that we'll get it done. It's just going to take some more time.
Any other comments? Call the roll.
Trustee Compass?
Aye.
Trustee Radiszewski?
Aye.
Trustee Healy?
Aye.
Trustee Katsinas?
Aye.
Trustee Malani?
Aye.
Trustee Reardon?
Aye.
And Mayor Pica.
Aye.
Fiscal year 2022 budget amendment number 2 approval.
Mr. Chairman,
Trustee Healy.
I move to recommend to the village board approving an increase in the general fund expenditure budget in the amount of $183,523, a decrease in the capital projects fund revenue budget in the amount of $200,000, a decrease in the capital projects fund expenditure budget in the amount of $90,123, a decrease in the MST TIF fund expenditure budget in the amount of $65, an increase in the Recreation Parks Fund revenue budget in the amount of $200,000, an increase in the Recreation Parks Fund expenditures budget in the amount of $425,559, an increase in the Civic Center Fund expenditure budget in the amount of $3,757, and an increase in the Water and Sewer Fund expense budget in the amount of $6,655 as detailed in the fiscal year 2022 amendment number 2.
Second.
Any comments or questions?
Mr. Chairman.
Trustee Compass.
Just a quick question around the IT part-time office support. Can someone just tell me how many hours a week that you're looking at for that position?
It would be under 30 hours, and it would. We have one position right now. Is the medical leave. That's all I can say. And so so what we would do then is these would stagger. They would be one on top of the other. Instead of having one full-time, we'll have 2 part-time. But in the interim, hopefully we can just have one at least.
Okay, thank you, George.
Any other comments? So the bulk of this is to increase the pay of our for our CSO officers, and we've discussed this in executive session because it involves employees, and now it's coming to the board floor because I think we all agree that paying them at the low level they were paid for people who are wearing a bulletproof vest and basically, bad guys think are police even though they're not, warrants to be classified at a different level is what the board agreed. And also they're our bench. So they're the folks that learn how the police department works. They learn, how to manage traffic and all those the simpler things of police officers' duties. And they decide if this is something they want to do. So it gives us someone, and we get to figure out what their work ethic is and if they fit. So it's a very good way for us to build a bench of officers to go into the academy and those types of things. So this just makes outstanding sense for the village, and I think this is a good decision. Call the roll.
Trustee Healy?
Aye.
Trustee Compass?
Aye.
Trustee Katsinas?
Aye.
Trustee Malani?
Aye.
Trustee Radiszewski?
Aye.
Trustee Reardon?
Aye.
Mayor Pica.
Aye.
An ordinance amending appendices A and B to ordinance number 5676 ordinance.
Mr. Chairman.
Trustee Compass.
Move to recommend adopting an ordinance entitled Ordinance Amending Appendices A and B to Ordinance Number 5676.
Second.
Any questions or comments? Call the roll.
Trustee Compass?
Aye.
Trustee Malani?
Aye.
Trustee Healy?
Aye.
Trustee Katsinas?
Aye.
Trustee Reardon?
Aye.
Trustee Rashewski?
Aye.
Mayor Pickup.
Aye.
Agenda Initiative, Board and Commission Member Replacement.
Mr. Chairman,
Trustee Katsinas.
I move to recommend to the mayor that he remove Scott Casper from the Board of Trustees of the Village of Orland Park's Police Pension Fund, as well as from the Village of Orland Park Ethics Commission.
Second.
Any comments?
Mr. Chairman,
Trustee Katsinas.
there were recent statements made on social media that were very damning, factually false and untrue. It didn't cast the village in a very good light and was very disparaging, I feel, to our police department. Chief made it very clear at our last meeting how he felt about it, and I had the opportunity to talk to some rank and file members who also shared a very strong sentiment. When we put people on our boards and commission, we hope the overriding thing is to look out for the best interest of Orland Park, the people we represent, the people that work here, our businesses, and I think this statement was a very reckless statement, and I would ask for your consideration in this.
Mr. Chairman,
Trustee Reardon.
I agree with all of Trustee Katsinas' comments, and I'll take it a step further in that we want people on these boards that are coming with different opinions and that are going to discuss issues and may not agree with everything that somebody up here, says. But when you go out of your way to disparage because of political reasons and you go put videos that are completely untrue about our police department, you have no place on these types of boards. So again, I don't think this is done to, punish a dissenting opinion at a meeting or someone come up with a different idea that doesn't pass. This was blatant, and this is not the kind of person that I think the citizens of Orland Park want on these types of boards.
Mr. Chairman.
Trustee Malani.
I agree with Trustee Katsinas and Trustee Reardon on this 100%. If you actually watch the video of the commercial in question, and I wish we could play it for everyone just so you could see it, but if you also view the advertising on social media that he's doing, I agree that this behavior is not consistent with supporting our police and definitely not considered ethical. Negative comments disparaging the village are uncalled for by appointed or elected members of our committees, our commissions, our boards, and they shouldn't be tolerated. Even in separation agreements with employees, we include verbiage that it's not tolerated. So if this was any employee in the village or one of us, I would feel the same way. We established ethical standards and ethical standards of conduct for a reason, and they should be applied to all of us.
Any other comments?
Mr. Chairman,
Trustee Healy.
there is a lot of crime going on in Chicago and Cook County, and there's no question about it. And a lot of it gets pushed away by the press and the TV stations. It doesn't get its due share about its causes and its who's actually responsible for it. But the reckless comments that are made, we support. I support the police, and I think that the Orland Park Police should be held up as an example to the other offices in metropolitan Cook County as a way to follow. I have nothing but admiration for their processes and procedures, and this reckless comment should not have been made. It should have been open for discussion with us first. Maybe we could have directed them into a more correct position. But it's just I just can't understand it. That's my comment.
Any other comments?
Mr. Chairman.
Trustee Compass.
So I did not comment on this last meeting. It was still fresh. I didn't want to overshadow Chief Mitchell's retirement, and because he responded to it so clearly. However, Trustee Katsinas raises a good point. It's an unfortunate reality that political candidates make controversial statements to get attention. If the attack had been kept to being against another candidate, I'd leave it in the political field where it belongs. But this accusation and what has followed was leveled at our police command. For a candidate to suggest that Chief Tim McCarthy, Chief Joe Mitchell, and the Orland Park Police Department have been lying about statistics that are reported to the FBI is pathetic. I would note that no substantiating information has yet been offered by the candidate to accurately dispute any of Chief McCarthy or Chief Mitchell's facts. The solution to the fear-mongering presented in the video was an anti-crime task force. That candidate's task force is led by a felon convicted of 8 federal charges, including making false statements. I wish I was making that up. On one hand, you have the distinguished careers of Chief McCarthy and Chief Mitchell, and on the other hand, well, I think we can all understand why Chief Mitchell responded the way that he did in that last meeting. I might also point out that Orland Park already has an anti-crime task force made up of the very best experts. Here, we call them the Orland Park Police Department. So yes, normally I would not comment on political clickbait. However, as Trustee Katsinas notes, this individual is not only a political candidate, he represents the village on the Police Pension Board and on the Ethics Commission. While he can speak for himself as a candidate, he certainly did not speak for the village when he chose to air an attack video against our police leadership. He also was clearly not representing the interests of the women and men of the police department by suggesting that they were not making enough arrests in later statements. With regards to the Ethics Commission, it is not hard to see that he would have a significant conflict of interest in handling any investigation into a political rival. It's simply logical to install a new and unbiased commissioner. So with that, I would support Trustee Katsinas' proposal.
Any other comments? So I will be abstaining from this for obvious reasons, so I won't comment on it or give my opinion on this. What I will do is give you some procedural things. One is that you will vote tonight, but you will also have to vote at the board meeting for it to be official at the next board meeting. Two, and the attorney can either agree with this or tell me that I'm mistaken here, but I think this is correct. The power of removal lies with me. The power of recommendation is me, with advice and consent from the board. So you can, but I will follow what your recommendation is. So, just to be clear, is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Also, what I would like to recommend, though, when it goes to the next board meeting, is that Mr. Casper is invited here so that he can explain himself and he can answer your questions. I think it's only fair before removing someone to give them that opportunity. So, and you can certainly make a motion to amend your motion that would include inviting Mr. Casper. He doesn't have to come, but including him, inviting him to the next board meeting.
Mr. Chairman?
Trustee Katsinas.
And I'd like to add to the motion that we make an invitation to Mr. Casper that he appear at our next board meeting.
Second.
Okay. So now the question is put to move to recommend the mayor that he remove Scott Casper from the Board of Trustees of the Village of Orland Park Police Pension Fund, as well as from the Village of Orland Park Ethics Commission, amended to include that Mr. Casper is invited to speak at the next board meeting. Call the roll.
Point of order, Mr. Mayor.
Oh, excuse me.
Are we voting on the
Correct.
amendment?
So please vote on the amended motion, on the amendment to the motion.
Aye.
Call the roll.
Trustee Katsinas?
Aye.
Trustee Milani?
Aye.
Trustee Healy?
No.
Trustee Compass?
Aye.
Trustee Reardon?
Aye.
Trustee Radiszewski?
Aye.
Mayor Pico?
Abstain.
Now for the main motion.
And now for the main motion.
Trustee Katsinas?
Aye.
Trustee Milani?
Aye.
Trustee Healy?
Aye.
Trustee Compass?
Aye.
Trustee Reardon?
Aye.
Trustee Radiszewski?
Aye.
Mayor Pico?
Abstain. Motion carries.
Non-scheduled citizens and visitors.
Peter Verdoliak, and a reminder that you have 3 minutes.
Hi, my name is Peter Verdoliak. At the Committee of the Whole and Board of Trustees White and Company Master Plan presentation, which was on February 21st, after I spoke, the mayor made the following public comments on the record. The Recreational Advisory Board unanimously sent this to us. That's what 12 people on the board. I'm not sure if they were all at the meeting, but those that were, most of them were, and it was unanimously sent to us as well. On February 21st, at the Board of Trustees meeting, the mayor made the following public comments on the record. The Rec Advisory Board advised us. A mayoral update on March 5th. We held a committee of the whole and regular board meeting on February 21st. The Park and Rec Advisory Board unanimously recommended these plans. The Recreation Advisory Board meeting was on February 1st, only 20 days before the Committee of the Whole and Board of Trustees meetings that were on February 21st. On the agenda was White and Company plan presentation. I reviewed the minutes of the meeting and listened to the audio. At no time on February 1st Recreational Advisory Board meeting did they make a recommendation to approve White and Company master plan. At no time on the February 1st Recreational Advisory Board meeting did they make a motion to approve the White and Company master plan. At no time on the February 1st Recreational Advisory Board meeting did they take a vote to approve the White and Company master plan. So my question is, how could those statements on the public record be honestly, ethically, or accurately made? The Board of Trustees meeting on March 7th, the mayor made the following separate public comments on the record in reference to his public comments made on February 21st. Number one, I will stand by my comments from last week. Number two, our Recreational Advisory Board unanimously gave us the recommendations that we approved last week. Number three, the board is making the best decision with the information they have. So my question is, what happens when the board is making decisions on information that is not accurate, true, or wrong? The records show that the Recreation Advisory Board made no such recommendation, motion, or vote. The minutes state discussion only, and the recommended action/motion reflected in the legislative details is discussion only. I also have comments on the concert series.
1 minute.
Public comments have been made in the concert series by staff and elected officials, such as getting the program into the black will take some time. We knew it would be in the red for a little bit, and so this year it was much better than last year. 2019 it lost 112,000, 2020 73,000, 2021 243,000. The expected losses here today are 250 to 313,000. So let's say someone said to you, we own some land and it's a fourth year of hosting concerts. The first 3 years we lost 428,000. With this year we expect to lose between 215 and 251 and 313,000. Management team has no one with any prior experience operating a concert venue or in the entertainment industry. They asked you to invest $10.7 million. Would you write that check? A sane person would say no. My advice is, instead of wasting hundreds of thousands of dollars where the village has no experience running concerts, to put it towards hiring additional staff for the Recreation and Athletics Division that is understaffed, needs, and deserves our support.
Thank you for your comments. Any other comments? Okay, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Call the roll.
Trustee Compass?
Aye.
Trustee Malani?
Aye.
Trustee Healy?
Aye.
Trustee Radiszewski?
Aye.
Mayor Pika?
Aye. We're adjourned. Thank you. Meeting to order, call the roll.
Trustee Healy? Here. Trustee Katsinas?
Here.
Trustee Malani?
Here.
Trustee Compass?
Here.
Trustee Reardon? Here. Trustee Radiszewski?
Here.
Mayor Pico?
Here.
Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Approval of the March 21, 2022 regular meeting minutes.
Mr. Chairman,
Trustee Katsinas.
I move to approve the minutes of the Board of Trustee meeting of March 21st, 2022.
Second.
Any changes? Call the roll.
Trustee Katsinas?
Aye.
Trustee Malani?
Aye.
Trustee Healy?
Aye.
Trustee Compass?
Aye.
Trustee Reardon?
Aye.
Trustee Radiszewski?
Aye.
Mayor Pico?
Aye.
Luke Cudney, Community Pride Award.
One second. Apologize, I'm having a technological problem here. So today we'd like to honor Luke Cudney, who did a phenomenal job during the Ukraine the Ukraine donations, where we were looking to get aid for the donations. So he came up with this idea, this cool idea to make these bowls out of clay, or not clay, out of plaster, I guess, and with the Ukrainian colors, the flag colors, and sell them in his neighborhood. And as it turns out, he raised over $300, right? How much? $491, almost $500 he raised with, and your brothers helped you with this, right? And with his brother's help, two brothers, right? And with their help, they sold these to their neighborhood, almost $500 that he donated to help the shipping costs to bring all of those goods overseas. And the people of Orland Park donated enough goods for a 48-foot trailer, and out of a 53-foot trailer, and then they donated more the next week when we weren't even collecting anymore. So another 100 boxes went over, plus a bunch of it that wasn't ready for that went to Goodwill. So the people of Orland Park really stepped up, and Luke really stepped up. So I would really, I'm very proud. These kinds of things are great because this was your initiative. This was you as a young man deciding to help people, which is fantastic. It represents everything that Orland Park is about, and so we're very proud of you. So it's my pleasure to present to you the Community Pride Award presented to Luke Cudney, presented in recognition of his selfless efforts in the collection of humanitarian aid for Ukrainian refugees. Get some more pictures. You know, I have to practice when you're there someday. Great job, Does the board have any comments?
Mr. Chairman?
Trustee Compass.
So as a father of an 11-year-old myself, I have some insight into the sacrifice of time and energy and effort that you all put into this. And I know that your parents must be very proud to show that much altruism and care for people halfway around the world. It's just absolutely outstanding. Well done.
Any other comments? Okay. Great job, Luke.
Accounts payable approval.
Mr. Chairman,
Trustee Healy.
I move to approve the accounts payable from March 22nd, 2022 through April 4th, 2022 in the amount of $2,312,961.80.
Second.
Do I hear a second?
I second. I did.
Oh, I didn't hear it.
Sorry.
Okay, call the roll.
Trustee Healy?
Aye.
Trustee Reardon?
Aye.
Trustee Katsinas?
Aye.
Trustee Malani?
Aye.
Trustee Compass?
Aye.
Trustee Radiszewski?
Aye.
Mayor Pico?
Aye.
Consent agenda.
Enjoy.
Consent agenda, it's a long one today. Payroll approval. Item B, disposal of village equipment, online auction, Public Works Department ordinance. Item C, Veterans Commission Moraine Valley Community College Scholarship Fund. Item D, Athletic Surface Repairs 2022. Item E, Silver Lake West Phase 2, El Camino Real Water Main Replacement and Stormwater Upgrades bid. Item F, Ordinance revising Title 3, Chapter 2, Streets and Public Ways addressing. Item G, an ordinance amending the Land Development Code to Section 5-112 to reduce letter of credit requirement. Item H, all hazards public alerting outdoor warning siren system purchase. Item I, ordinance amending Title 7, Chapter 15, reducing the number of Class B tobacco licenses. Item J, budget amendment number 2 approval. Item K, an ordinance amending appendices A and B to ordinance number 5676 ordinance. Item L, RFP 22-16 meter replacement program evaluation bid. Item M, Metro East Townhomes Development Petition for Special Use Permit for a Planned Development, Site Plan, Landscape Plan, Elevations, Plat of Subdivision. Item N, Metro East Townhomes Development Agreement Ordinance. Item O, Metro East Townhomes Ordinance granting a special use for a planned development. I'll entertain a motion to approve items A through O of the consent agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Call the roll.
Trustee Malani?
Aye.
Trustee Compass?
Aye.
Trustee Healy?
Aye.
Trustee Katsinas?
Aye.
Trustee Reardon?
Aye.
Trustee Rashevsky?
Aye.
Mayor Pico.
Aye.
Request for proposal 22-015, holiday lighting services.
Mr. Chairman,
Trustee Compass.
I move to approve awarding RFP 22-015 to Artistic Holiday Designs LLC of Lamont, Illinois for a 3-year contract for 2022, 2023, and 2024 with the option to extend an additional 2 years in an amount not to exceed the board-approved budgeted amount and authorize the village manager to execute all related contracts subject to village attorney review.
Second.
Any comments? Call the roll.
Trustee Compass?
Aye.
Trustee Malani?
Aye.
Trustee Healy?
Aye.
Trustee Katsinas?
Aye.
Trustee Reardon?
Aye.
Trustee Rashevsky?
Aye.
Mayor Pico.
Aye.
USIC Streetlight locates contract award.
Mr. Chairman,
Trustee Reardon.
I move to waive the bidding process for utility locating and marking services and to move to approve awarding USIC of Indianapolis, Indiana, a contract for 1 year with the option to extend an additional 2 years in the amount not to exceed $55,000 for 2022 or the board-approved budgeted amount thereafter, and authorize the village manager to execute all related contracts subject to village attorney review.
Second.
Any comments?
Just, Mr. Chairman,
Trustee Reardon.
can we just get just a brief explanation, what's going on with this?
Yes. So we do about 11,000 Julie locates every year, and part of that is to mark our street lights. And with that, we've used our in-house staff before, but we are finding that, if we miss one, the repair costs are pretty heavy. We're also seeing that we have a lot of work that we would like to use the individual with our sidewalk program. And so we investigated USIC because they do the markings out there already.
Yeah, they're the only ones I see. I don't mean to interrupt you, but those are the only trucks that I ever see. I'm kind of getting to the point of this is who does this stuff, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. And so it saves on our costs because they're ready on site and they can mark the street lights as well.
Thank you.
Any other comments? So one of the things here, this is going to cost us about $5 a locate. When you think about us sending our own team out there to do a locate, it costs a lot more than $5 just to get them in the truck and get them there. So this just makes sense. Gets them on stuff that we can do, and plus all the liability also shifts to them because they're doing the marking, correct?
Correct.
So this is definitely an example of very good government, very smart to do this and not be doing these kinds of services, not core to our business. Call the roll.
Trustee Reardon?
Aye.
Trustee Healy?
Aye.
Trustee Katsinas?
Aye.
Trustee Malani?
Aye.
Trustee Compass?
Aye.
Trustee Rashevsky?
Aye.
Mayor Pico.
Aye.
Illinois Department of Transportation letter of understanding for Wolf Road Bridge work over Interstate 80.
Mr. Mayor,
Trustee Radiszewski.
I move to approve the village president signing the letter of understanding from IDOT for the improvements of FAI 80, Interstate 80 at Wolf Road Bridge, and Wolf Road at 187th Street, job number C-91-1061-21, contract 62N20, agreement LU 122011.
Second.
Any questions or comments?
Mr. Mayor? This is George here.
Oh, George.
Could we have, Krashid, maybe just a little bit of description of the project?
Sure.
Sure. So IDOT is starting a project where they will be repairing the bridge over over I-80 on Wolf Road. And the specific work that is included, it includes the improvement will replace upper portion of the bridge and widen the roadway for the installation of a multi-use path. Other improvements will include drainage, traffic signal modifications at 187th Street, and they will also address ADA concerns with the existing sidewalk or multi-use path. The project is scheduled to start the bid process on April 29, and then completion by the end of this construction season in 2022.
Okay.
So they are asking for the village president to sign a letter of understanding. Overall, they'll invest in all the design, land acquisition cost, and everything else. There are two conditions that they're putting on the village. One is the village will agree to not permit any driveway entrance openings along the Wolf Road project limits without the consent of IDOT. And then the second one is village agrees to maintain sidewalk, multi-use path, ADA ramps, parkway, mowing, roadway lighting, including furnishing electricity, crosswalks, and stop bars, which is quite standard for most of the IDOT work.
And that's only within our village limits, right?
Correct.
Okay. Yep. Yeah, so I think people, this is kind of the first announcement of be prepared for a very tough construction season. Wolf over I-80 is going to be closed. It's going to put everything to LaGrange Road. 159th is going to be closed down to 2 lanes because, as we all know, that when they built 159th, they messed up one area of the land bridge, so that has to be redone. Then all the roads over the CalSag, so 45, 83 in Harlem, the 3 major ones, all being redone in the same year. So all of our north-south over the CalSag are going to be going down to 2 lanes. So it's going to be a really fun construction season. Oh, and not to mention, we will also be getting Southwest Highway fixed. The good news is it will fix the flooding on Southwest Highway. So we're going to start with the culverts at the beginning of the year, and then we'll start on the roadway at the end of the year, correct?
Correct.
And then the roadway will go into next year.
Correct.
So we have all that to look forward to on top of all the local stuff that we do. So a lot of IDOT work. I mean, it's great that they're doing the work, but it's all at once. So I think it'll impact people coming into and when we leave town more than it will when we're inside town. I think we'll be able to work our way around it. So, but something to think about when you're planning your exit from town to go someplace. You might want to try some not around rush hour.
Mr. Mayor?
Trustee Healy.
Krashid, I didn't hear the word Mokina in any of this description or whatever.
Because they don't sign our letter, that's why.
Or do they have a similar letter?
I'm sure they do.
They have a similar letter on their own.
Because our village, I mean, they talk about 187th, and that's outside our village limit, isn't it? Or?
So that project. I was mentioning the project improvements, what it will do for the project, but they will have a similar letter of understanding.
So there's a similar letter over there.
Correct.
Okay, yeah. Thanks.
Any other comments? Call the roll.
Trustee Radiszewski.
Aye.
Trustee Malani.
Aye.
Trustee Healy.
Aye.
Trustee Katsinas.
Aye.
Trustee Compass.
Aye.
Trustee Reardon.
Aye.
Mayor Peacock.
Aye.
Fiscal year 2021 audit engagement letter approval.
Mr. Mayor?
Trustee Healy.
I move to authorize the village manager to sign the engagement letter with BKD CPAs and Advisors dated February 7, 2022 for a cost of $69,735 plus single audit fees if a single audit is required.
Second.
Yeah, we did Reardon again. Can't hear him.
I can't hear you today. He must
I
be
don't know,
jumping
it's
right
on.
top
I think
of
it's on. I'm muting myself, maybe.
Okay, great. Any comments? Call the roll.
Trustee Healy.
Aye.
Trustee Reardon.
Aye.
Trustee Katsinas.
Aye.
Trustee Malani.
Aye.
Trustee Compass.
Aye.
Trustee Radiszewski.
Aye.
Mayor Pico.
Aye.
Approve Tyler payments for merchant processing services Tyler contract amendment.
Mr. Chairman,
Trustee Radiszewski.
I move to approve a change order with Tyler Technologies for the implementation of Tyler payments for merchants processing services and move to authorize the village manager to sign the necessary documents and agreements with Tyler Technologies, Chase, J.P. Morgan, and other related firms and service providers, subject to village attorney review.
Second.
Any comments? Call the roll.
Trustee Radiszewski.
Aye.
Trustee Katsinas.
Aye.
Trustee Healy.
Aye.
Trustee Malani.
Aye.
Trustee Compass.
Aye.
Trustee Reardon.
Aye.
Mayor Pico.
Aye.
Amend Title 7, Chapter 4, number of Class A5 liquor licenses ordinance.
Mr. Chairman,
Trustee Malani.
move to adopt an ordinance entitled an ordinance amending Title 7, Chapter 4 of the Orland Park Municipal Code regarding the available number of Class A5 liquor licenses issued by the Village of Orland Park, Cook and Will Counties, Illinois.
Second.
Any comments? Call the roll.
Trustee Compass.
Aye.
Trustee Malani.
Aye.
Trustee Healy.
Aye.
Trustee Katsinas.
Aye.
Trustee Reardon.
Aye.
Trustee Radiszewski.
Aye.
Mayor Pico.
Aye.
Non-scheduled citizens and visitors.
Peter Verdoliak, got 3 minutes.
Peter Verdoliak. The first thing I'd like to talk about are the field conditions that were at the John Humphrey Complex after we did a renovation last year. So a number of the things were at issue. The grass didn't grow, for one. The White & Company Master Plan did a survey on the parks. The Centennial rating was 30% excellent, 47% good, for a total favorability rating of 77%. The John Humphrey Complex, after the renovation, was rated at excellent 32% and 45% for a total favorable rating of 77%. They're equal. In the Board of Trustees meeting on February 21st, the mayor said Centennial Park hasn't been touched since really 1993 when it was built. So my question is, how could a $2.3 million renovation at John Humphrey Complex rate the same as Centennial, a complex that hasn't been touched since 1993? The Joliet Park District spent $1.4 million on turf infields to 6 existing fields at Inwood Sports Complex. Orland Park spent $2.3 million on 5 existing dirt fields and has the issues that are stated above. The 2018 feasibility study estimated the budget to do work at Humphrey was about $550,000, and I believe a $600,000 budget was initially put in place. The issues at Humphrey, according to the Recreation Advisory Board on September 8th, include trench in Humphrey 2 center field, uneven grading, poor drainage resulting in flooded dugouts, dragging, turf conditions, and watering. Also maintaining the fields in between games. Both stated that they are aware of deficiencies after the first year that need to be addressed. One of the biggest challenges is that the Athletics Division faces is that they are used every day and finding a window to do the work is difficult. Also, contractors are short-staffed and behind schedule. The Athletic Division has 5 guys maintaining...
1 minute.
5 guys maintaining 40 fields at different complexes. Requests for additional staff have been denied. In the November 2nd, 21 meeting, Bo mentioned that some of the turf issues came up regarding the John Humphrey Complex. The entire complex was aerated and several thousand pounds of fertilizer and seed were put down. Why are we having all these problems at John Humphrey Complex? And are the contractors being held responsible for the additional cost or these defects? My other question is, why is the recreational athletic division of the Recreation Department understaffed for the work that they have to do?
Thank you for your comments. More comments?
Board comments.
Are there anybody else to speak here?
No.
Great.
Board comments.
Trustee Katsinas.
Luke, I want to thank you for what you did for the community. You know, when you have a tragedy like what's going on in Ukraine, it brings out the worst in people, but it also brings out the best in people. So you're a shining light tonight, so thank you so much. Also, a sure sign of spring, the Lucky Easter Egg Hunt is this Saturday at 10 a.m. sharp. It starts Centennial Ball Field. It's for children ages 9 and under, and it is free. So hope to see you there.
Trustee Malani.
I'd also like to thank and congratulate Luke Cudney once again for his efforts in helping the people of the Ukraine. Small, innovative ideas like this can make a huge impact on people's lives, and we definitely appreciate the work that you did, along with your brothers. I'd also like to pass on, as Mayor Peacock mentioned, IDOT will be starting their improvement projects to the drainage at the area of Southwest Highway and 131st and 135th Street. So yes, be prepared for construction season. And hopefully, yes, this will alleviate the flooding issues that have occurred in the past there once and for all. As Trustee Katsinas mentioned, yes, the Lucky Egg Hunt will be on Saturday, and hope to see you all there. Thank you.
Trustee Compass.
Keep it short and sweet tonight for all those that celebrate the holiday. Ramadan Mubarak. Thank you.
Trustee Radiszewski.
Luke, congratulations. I think it's wonderful that you did that you're very, you're thoughtful. I look forward to seeing all the other things that you're going to do in your future. And thank you to your parents for taking the time, and I'm sure you had to shop and buy the materials and help them, coordinate the event. So thank you, too, very much for all of your efforts. It's greatly appreciated. So events, they've mentioned the Easter Bunny is going to be at Centennial Park this Saturday. The Orland Park History Museum is also hosting an event this weekend, Our Lady of Angels School Fire on April 9th at 11 a.m. And the Veterans Information Saturday event will take place on April 23rd from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. at the Civic Center. They mentioned some road repairs being done on Southwest Highway. I just want to remind people, to obviously expect delays, but to allow extra time for your trips and pay close attention to the workers. And that's it. Thank you, everyone.
Trustee Healy.
I would like to, thank Luke for daring to be different, going out of his way and doing that thing. And I would recommend that his parents, who should be very proud, I'd recommend that they start clearing out some of the house for some more awards that he's going to get in his lifetime. So thank you.
Trustee Reardon.
Yeah, just to continue on that theme, I have 3 of my 4 children are probably within a year of your age, and I certainly going to bring this back home to them as a motivating factor of somebody your age and things that they can do. So, congratulations. Also, the Masters this week, which I hope everyone enjoys, and hopefully somebody will be playing that we all would like to see. And although it's a little late, opening day is Friday. I mean Friday, not Thursday. If you know what I mean.
All right, thank you, everyone, today. So we had a discussion earlier today about our parks and some comments about John Humphrey Complex. For those of you who paid attention to all of our meetings back to, I think this goes back to 2017 or 2018. So we had a 7-foot drop-off at our ball fields over here. They were unusable for baseball, which is why we fixed them. But again, for those of you who have been around and or have paid attention to all of these public meetings, you would know that what we figured out was that that used to be a fill pile. And I know because I grew up here, I grew up a block from here, that was a swamp. So it was a fill pile dumped on top of a swamp. And they said, we have a bright idea in the 80s, we're going to spread it all out, which seemed a reasonable thing to do, and they made a complex out of it. Well, it sunk a lot. And when we got into the project, it ended up, there was a lot of peat. And Krishit, how many feet? 15 feet of peat that had to be moved. So that's why it got so expensive. That also has a little bit to do with the turf, but anyone who knows a little bit about turf, and I do, it takes about 3 to 4 years for a seeded field to actually completely fill in. You know, that particular year we had also some weather conditions not exactly optimal. So we still have more years to go. We knew it was going to take a couple of years for it to completely fill in. So we invested in a complex that hadn't been touched since the 1980s, and it was blocked for 2 years and stopped us. If we wouldn't have been blocked for 2 years, all of that grass growing time and all that would already be done. But it wasn't, so be it. We had them evaluate the John Humphrey complex. Keep in mind the John Humphrey complex has also got 4 fields that are completely unusable. So that's part of it as well. So again, we invested in those parks. We have instituted processes, as we talked about, that have fixed over 20 neighborhood parks in the last 3 years, over 2 dozen tennis and basketball courts, and instituted a ton of processes that get feedback from our residents that didn't exist before, and feedback from our rec advisory board that didn't provide that input before. And those rec advisory board members actually, instead of just complaining about decisions that are made, they actually stepped up to volunteer to help and to provide input to us. And they've done a good job. And it's taken some time to get them to embrace that and get the right people on there. So we've put all those things in place. The new master park plan and what we've agreed to, 8 public meetings, surveys. And one of the things you noticed from the surveys earlier today, we made some changes. 85% on one, 60% approved on the other. Not everybody agrees. That's just the way things work, folks. 60,000 people, we don't always agree. But what we do is we vote, we make the best decision we can, and then we move on and implement it. Because continuing to rehash decisions that have been made is a waste of people's time. So that's what we do here, and our staff does a phenomenal job, and we're going to do a great job with the, I can't wait to, so that's what we do here, and our staff does a phenomenal job, and we're going to do a great job with the, I can't wait to see those projects as they unfold. So I continue to commend all of our departments for all their hard work. Inflation is wreaking havoc for all of our residents, you know, $4.50 plus gallon gas, other costs. But residents should really be aware that it also impacts you in hidden ways that you probably don't think too much about, and how much it costs the village to operate, how much more it costs it. Just gas alone. I mean, it's doubling our gas bill for all of our public works, for all of our police cars. That's a huge expense. So all of this has a huge impact. It costs a lot more to operate. That's something that the residents ultimately pay for in some way. And the staff and the board and I are all committed to doing everything we can to maintain our levels of service and keep low taxes, right? However, on the fringes, you're going to see some changes here and there on the fringes because we have to, because we're under the same constraints you are, especially labor constraints. We have those constraints. We're having a tough time finding people to fill some of our positions. So there's just something for people to keep in mind, that it also impacts the village as well. It's just like it impacts you personally or in your business. But what we won't do is kick capital projects down the road. And that's what we did since about 2001. We kicked a lot of capital projects down the road, whether it was parks, whether it was roads, whether it was ponds, whether it was buildings. We found that out. Cars, right? We've kicked those things down the road. And the problem is with that is that those projects just get more expensive. They still need to get done. And it gives you this big backlog. And that's what we've been working through the last few years, and we're going to work through for the next few. What that leads to, it leads to higher maintenance costs and higher operating costs, taking our people's time up to maintain these things. It also it makes the projects more costly in the future. So with hard work and old-fashioned American ingenuity, I'm confident that we'll all get through this, both personally and the village as well. In spite of the obstacles that have been placed in front of us by the state government and the federal government, I know that the amazing people, both in the village and working for the village, and our outstanding staff, you know, we'll tighten our bootstraps and we'll make it happen. So I'm confident of that. wish everyone a very happy Easter, and I hope to see you at the egg hunt on this Saturday, correct? So I look forward to seeing you there. With that, I'll entertain a motion to go into executive session.
Mr. Chairman,
Trustee comments.
I move to go into executive session for A, the appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of specific village employees, B, collective negotiating matters between the village and its employees or their representatives, or deliberations concerning salary schedules for one or more classes of employees, C, the purchase or lease of real property for the use of the village, D, pending litigation against, affecting, or on behalf of the village, or when found by the board that such action is probable or imminent.
Second.
Call the roll.
Trustee Compass?
Aye.
Trustee Katsinas?
Aye.
Trustee Healy?
Aye.
Trustee Milani?
Aye.
Trustee Reardon?
Aye.
Trustee Radiszewski?
Aye.
Mayor Pika?
Aye. Go to executive session.